What is up, hotties? Welcome back to another episode of Stay Hot, brought to you by our good friends over at FanDuel. You can sign up with FanDuel today using the code Stay Hot. And I'm joined by my favorite co-hosts of all time, Matthew Sponhour and Theo Ash. My name is Blaiden Kirk. And today we have an absolutely ridiculous episode to unfold. We have to talk about the Micah Parsons trade, which happened while Matt and Theo were recording the NBA pod for the Patreon. So I imagine you two talked about it a little bit there. College football happened this weekend. It was week one. Some pretty major games went down. A lot of quarterback matchups, a lot of quarterback discussions got brought to light. And then, of course, we promised that we would do our playoff swap episode today. So with that being said, Matt, Theo, we're here. We're with the FanDuel Cup. How you guys doing on this Sunday evening?
Theo,
I'm doing
probably pretty good.
I'm doing well
because of the Micah Parsons trade.
He's doing okay, I would think.
It's the biggest deal in the world, man, to get Micah Parsons.
Biggest deal of the 2020s, no?
I mean,
maybe the Watson deal is bigger. Maybe the Watson deal is bigger, but it's up there.
I mean, it's pretty insane. Have you gotten over the loss of Kenny Clark? I imagine that was.
I didn't mean to get you hate with that tweet, bro. I'm sorry.
Oh, there is no hate. I think. I mean, how good they're going to win the Super Bowl during Parsons' contract, or they're going to be.
They're now
close.
Contenders. That's the difference. Before they were.
I think it'd be a disappointment not to win a Super Bowl with Parsons there, right?
I mean, it's certainly the goal if you're going to make a super aggressive move like that. But I think some people have been trying to bash it a little bit by being, well, now they got to win a Super Bowl, and I don't know if they're the favorite. It's like, yeah, maybe not. But you're kind of playing the odds if you're setting the bar. They have to win the whole Super Bowl. And the fact that this move raises their expectation to that level, I think speaks to how much of a game changer it is, because beforehand, the Packers were like a fringe, maybe they'd be feisty in the playoffs team, but not a serious contender, even in the NFC that I think's a little bit more open. I don't know if their defense is perfect, right? Or if they're a perfect team. The wide receivers are still a question mark, even though I think there's some hope that things could work out there. Jordan Love is coming off of not his greatest season. I like him, but he's a guy you're paying a lot of money and he needs to play like it if you're going to win a championship, right? You're not going to win a Super Bowl paying a guy for average performance that's, making $55 million or whatever it's at per year. And defensively, we can still question the corners, but ultimately, this is a team that won 11 games last year with a tough strength of schedule and a mid-record against one-score teams, which we'll be talking about a lot today in our playoff swap segment, who now added the second most valuable non-quarterback, one of the 5 most valuable non-quarterbacks. He's not
perhaps
Myles
number
Garrett.
One. Perhaps
you could argue, I would take Garrett, but he's as valuable as a non-QB could possibly get. I think defensively, you were not bad last year, and now I think you have playmakers at every level with McKinney, with Cooper, and with Parsons. They might not be perfect, but we've seen how much of a game changer Parsons was for a Cowboys defense that, frankly, I don't think is that good or well-rounded whatsoever. And offensively, I think they've got a good play caller, and I think they've got a lot of potential across the board to just improve based off of young guys maybe progressing a little bit. So as a whole, I'm way more excited than the Packers. I think the NFC is way more interesting now. This is the biggest move of the off season in terms of just changing your perspective on a team. I think maybe one of the cute, maybe Geno or something.
Maybe.
No,
I mean,
no, this is the biggest. This is one of the biggest trades ever. This is one of the 3 biggest trades ever. This is one of the 3 biggest trades ever, I think.
It's up there.
This Micah Parsons, when he is off the field, Bill Barnwell tweeted this. When he is off the field since joining the Cowboys, they're the 2nd worst defense in the league. When he's on the field, they're the best by EPA per play. So I think he's as valuable as any player not named Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, or Patrick Mahomes. He instantly changes everything for the defense.
No question about it.
I expect them to be perhaps the best unit in the league this year. I expect them to be top 5 as long as he's around. They have stars at all three levels. They have Edge Cooper as a linebacker. They have Xavier McKinney on the back end, and now they have Parsons. And he's just going to make life so easy for everybody else. I could easily see Devontae Wyatt getting 10 sacks now. I could easily see Rashawn Gary getting 10 sacks now. And I could see Parsons getting 15 himself. Like,
yeah.
He is the best stunter.
People are going to give you crap for that in the comments, by the way, but I don't think you're wrong.
People are coping about this move, and they're underrating Parsons. Truly.
Have you seen the the run defense,
defense, he's an amazing run defender. He is an amazing run defender. Like, the fact that that's a narrative right now, like, I just laugh and shake my head. The guy is crazy strong, plays low, twitched up, perfect hand placement constantly.
People are only saying that because the Cowboys' run defense was bad, because their interior
and because Parsons doesn't weigh that much. It's those two things coming together, I think.
Yeah, like he is a ferocious run defender. People say that, he always gets ran at. He gets attacked in the run game. I truly think they're mistaking being the option man is getting attacked. Like, I think they're like, the Eagles always run right at him. Yeah. Like, they must be seeing him being the read man and like choosing to go after the running back, and then Jalen Hurts keeps it or something like that. And they're like, they're going right at Parsons. No,
Parsons is going right at them.
they're trying to avoid Parsons. They're trying to make him pat his feet and make a decision and take him out of the play. And if the linebackers can't scrape exchange, that's not Parsons' problem. Like, the guy is he's just a phenomenal player in all aspects. The guy can bull rush. The guy can win around the outside. The guy can counter inside just with the best of them in all those things. And he's a fantastic run defender. And he can drop into coverage. And like, if you wanted to press a receiver with Micah Parsons, like, he could probably hang because he's that twitchy. Like, this guy is just maybe the best pound for pound athlete in the league right now that can just do whatever you want. I'm so excited to see him with Cooper specifically. You know, when they're both mugged up, you can send one of them and the other one can cover the deep seam from the A gap. Like, they're in creative mode. Jeff Hafley is absolutely in creative mode. He can scheme up whatever kind of pressure he wants, and it's going to work because Parsons just floats over the turf. He just floats over the grass. He's a phantom who, is in front of you 1 second and then he's just gone the next. He's crashed inside. He's all the way on the other side of the line of scrimmage when everybody else is stunting as well. These offensive linemen just get confused, and he's the biggest force multiplier. Like, if you believe those Bill Barnwell statistics, like, he's one of the biggest force multipliers in professional sports today, in soccer, in hockey, in basketball, and football. Like, this guy is,
he's a demon.
He's a demon. He's a future Hall of Famer. Like, this is a Reggie White caliber move. I'm 100% certain.
What's crazy about it on top of that, because there's a lot of aspects to this trade. Obviously, the Packers are way more interesting, and I'm sure we'll even get into that a little bit more when we do our playoff swaps, because there were a team where I was like, well, now it's a little bit different. I don't think they really gave up that much to get him. I think they got him for a pretty cheap deal, to be completely honest with you. A lot of people were talking like, okay, it starts at 2 first-round draft picks. And it's like, right, that makes sense. But the Packers didn't give up much more. I thought it would be a huge haul of picks. Like, Jerry was looking for the Herschel Walker deal 2.0.
Yeah.
And while 2 firsts are obviously 2 firsts or whatever, these are going to be 2 picks that you would suspect to be past 20 at least, right? And I just don't think the value aligns there in terms of either getting like a really premium selection. Like, what if you had traded him? What if you had traded him on draft night? Could you have gotten the 2nd overall in Travis Hunter? I think so. I don't think that would have been a crazy move for the Browns at all, or something along those lines. I don't know if the salary works out, but I think they could have gotten like that and then some more. Or, I mean, I would have expected to see the Packers give up maybe 2 firsts and then 2 seconds and then like 2. And it's like to really make it say, okay, is this worth it? Instead, you have to give Parsons a big deal that he's worth, but it's not even like far over just like kind of being the highest paid defensive player of all time, which is how resetting the market works when the salary cap always goes up, and a couple of selections. A lot of people wanted to frame this as like, oh, well, they're doomed. This dooms their future to give up picks like that. And I think people are just overvaluing how much 2 firsts are worth here. Don't get me wrong. Like, finding talent cheap is the name of the game. But getting players like Parsons is next to impossible. It's really hard.
Dude, this is JJ Watt did not get traded in his prime. Like Von Miller did not get traded in his prime.
And that's the craziest thing about it. It's like, it's not like he's 29. He's entering his, he's on a 4-year
Garrett is 29, right?
Exactly.
Like if Garrett had been traded, you really get what, maybe 5 really good years left of Garrett.
Who knows?
Maybe?
If Garrett gets traded, you give up a humongous new contract and a bunch of draft assets for a guy who's about to turn 30. And while Garrett might be the most valuable non-quarterback straight up in the league, tier 1 edge rusher, there is some risk there that you give all that up and then maybe a regression happens quicker than you'd expect. Not saying that's going to happen, but you're rolling those dice. With Parsons, I mean, obviously
his best years might be in front of him. His best years might be in front of him.
You would expect him to have his best year yet. In the general regular progression and regression. So I just think the risk here is not that great. There's a lot of teams that build their philosophy who are good around the idea that first round picks are just straight up overvalued. And while I don't know if I agree with like that entirely and that they're not important or whatever, I don't think that moving 2 firsts just sells your ability to bring in young talent still. Like the Rams and the 49ers are always looking to trade away those picks. And I mean, we see teams that are successful. Go back and look at their history of like first round picks in the last 7 or 8 years. There's certainly multiple years they've spent first round picks on guys who aren't even good, who aren't even talented, and they survive that. So I think the Packers are going to be able to survive bringing in Micah Parsons with 2 1s. I really do.
Yeah,
I'm super excited about it. They're going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, the price, it's hefty. $47 million is a ton. But you can put it on the credit cards, you can push it back
and they'll restructure if it comes down to it. And if they're close enough and they need to make another move, that's the truth. I'm not a salary cap is fake guy. Maybe eventually they say we're going to go all in on this moment because we have Parsons, because we feel like we're pretty close. Right. And in 2030, they're kind of set up like New Orleans. Fair enough. But frankly, like there are teams that go ages, can go 20 years without being a serious true contender. That can go a decade without really having a shot. So being aggressive and risking a couple of years maybe like that to give yourself a shot, I don't think it's the end of the world. Obviously, you can go too far with anything like the New Orleans Saints have, but
they didn't sign Micah Parsons. They didn't sign. They signed Derek Carr and Taysom Hill. They signed. Yeah, that's why they're in Campo.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like if the Browns can sort of survive the cap situation of the Watson deal, I feel like the Packers can survive.
Well, they have not survived it though.
I mean, they didn't survive it. They're bad because the quarterback was bad.
Yeah, they went to the playoffs. They went to the playoffs with the Watson deal hanging over their head because of Garrett, right? Because of the force multiplier on defense. This like, yeah, the price is a lot, but it's worth it. These guys Parsons should have never hit the open market. The Cowboys should have paid him. Any other team would have paid him. The stuff Jerry is saying about why they did it don't make any sense. Like, well, we need a run game because teams just started to pass it quickly and they started to run on us.
I was talking to someone at the bar last night, and he was like, dude, Kenny Clark's going to retire next year. What are you like?
Let's talk about the Cowboys side of things. I think this is a mindless, horrible move, of course. Jerry Jones waiting to do this and letting this build into like a drama and then deciding to trade him a week before the season. I don't care if you think that Parsons is overrated and you think that the money was too much and that this was like the right call. Doing it now certainly is not what a serious franchise does right before the season.
Right.
You could have given yourself those assets at the start of the offseason because you could have traded Parsons for 2 firsts at any moment you wanted to. It's not like this was some crazy offer that you were able to just put together. You could have said 2 firsts and you guys get them and it would have been done in a heartbeat. And then you could have had the entire offseason to try to build your defense back up with those assets. Instead, you needed to get back a defensive player to feel like you had any hope. And you're having Jerry Jones talk about how like we might move these for another guy before the season starts. Like, what are we talking about?
What are we talking about?
I just
ridiculous.
I just can't get behind that at all. And that's ignoring, of course, the elephant in the room, which is that the odds of them replacing Parsons with 2 late first-round draft picks, either in a trade or by drafting them, is incredibly long. And it really calls into question what the plan is for this team going forward, because I have concerns that their defense is going to be a disaster. And I don't think they're like some perfectly built offense either. I mean, I understand on some level you could say Dak is good, CD is like a tier 1 receiver, and Mike is a tier 1 pass rusher. But now that these guys are paid and the Cowboys haven't really done anything crazy, they didn't make an NFC championship game with them, maybe you feel like they're kind of stuck and that the way out is blowing it up, unfortunately. I might not agree with that, but I can understand that angle. I think we've talked about that on here before. The issue is that it just doesn't seem like there's some cohesive plan or it's been thought out that way to try to build going forward. Instead, it's like, I didn't get to strong arm Micah Parsons in this deal, and I want to come away as like the big winner somehow, and I think I can make this Herschel Walker 2.0. And again, like, a draft pick could turn into anything. Who knows? Like, maybe they absolutely nail it, and the story is like, what are the odds? Everybody hated, and they came around, but
he's got 2 picks to do it. You know, it's not that bad.
He's got 2 picks to do it. The odds of that are incredibly long. And even in a world where it's like you nail some other edge rusher evaluation, you'd be thinking like, what if they did like an Atlanta Falcons trade to get back up into the first to take that guy instead of moving Micah Parsons for those picks? I'm a big believer in how you use the picks is not connected necessarily to the trade. So even if they nail one of these draft selections, I'll just question if they could have gotten that draft selection another way rather than giving up Parsons to do so. I really don't like this for the Cowboys. They go from a team that's like wackily run, but still pretty decent, to a team that I think is just going to be really terrible on defense and probably great for fantasy. Probably going to throw the ball a lot of times for fantasy.
Yeah, I mean, they're the diet Bengals, right?
Yeah, I mean, they're the Bengals, but I think their defense might be worse. Yeah, I mean,
I don't know, man. The Bengals defense is pretty. They are getting Hendrickson back this year, but I do think at least the Cowboys have like some ball hawks on secondary. It's like that can be.
Yeah,
exciting.
I really wonder how the production of those ball hawks is gonna be affected by moving a guy who's forcing the QB to throw it early and often, right? Because we've seen Bland and Diggs have good years and have not so good years, and they just paid Bland the big new contract I saw, 4 years, $92 million, I think. So I'm pretty low on the Cowboys' future. I don't think this is what a serious team does. I think that Parsons is a really good player. As always, you can save yourself by drafting crazy, but that doesn't make this move really bad.
No,
I like
now you're forcing yourself.
Here,
you're forcing yourself to draft crazy, and every time you draft an edge rusher going forward, you're like, man, this guy could be as good as Micah Parsons was. Like it's like the the guy that dates this really awesome girl and he fucks it up, and then his every girl he dates after that is he compares to the really awesome girl. So,
and Ezeraku doesn't deserve that.
And it's not their fault. You know, they don't deserve that. Ezeraku, we like the guy. We think he's going to be really good, but is he going to be as good as Micah Parsons? Probably not.
Probably not. So I just think Dallas. I mean, Dallas fans, I'm sure, have probably skipped past this part of the podcast, and I don't blame you. This would be mind-numbingly infuriating. This is as bad and frustrating as any move that you can imagine, truly.
Yeah, I mean, if you wanted to stop the run, there are run stoppers out there for $7 million. I mean, Poona Ford was out there. You could have signed him this offseason.
You could have traded for Kenny Clark and not given up Micah Parsons.
Yeah, there's a million other things that you could do. And blowing this all up over what? Like, Jerry wanted to negotiate with Micah without his agent? You can't negotiate with a 26-year-old without their agent. Like, it's groomer mentality.
No,
we don't.
Yes, no, it's literally.
We don't need predatory. To get your pick.
It is. He's trying to get one over a guy who is just so clearly like the way that it works. And we know this, and we're not like cap experts, but the way that this works is if you reach a certain level at your position, if you become a tier 1 guy and you're up for a new contract, you reset the market because the salary cap always goes up, and you're going to get, a couple million more than the last guy got per year.
Yeah.
And whatever the guarantees are, and you're going to be the highest paid defensive player ever. Parsons was unquestionably that level of player. There's no doubt about it. There's no, well, maybe, because some guys fall into that tier. Parsons is a very simple, you pay him and you figure out everything else from there. And trying to get out of that and not being willing to pay him, it just doesn't make sense to me.
No, it not only does it not make sense, the Cowboys have this problem where they wait so long to do it anyway. This is the problem they had with Dak. This is why Dak is the highest paid player in football right now, is because they let every quarterback before him get, reset the market money over and over and over again until finally they're like, well, I guess we'll give him $60 million a year.
Because Jerry Jones, and maybe this is me but he's trying to win the deal. He's not trying to build the team out in a sense. He's trying to win the contract negotiation. That's the only thing that can make sense to me. But the issue is that some guys, like a CD Lamb, sorry, it's just too you're just gonna have to buckle up and
you
pay
win the
him.
deal by paying. You won when you drafted.
You've already
this is a best case scenario.
You win the deal when you win the Super Bowl, man.
This isn't, it's not compared to I don't know, a Terry McLaurin, right? That's a very good player who is not tier one at his position and who's older. So there it's you can see how a holdout can happen and why you might be hesitant to bring them back and what the contract is going to be. You understand the factors at play there. Micah Parsons, it's again, anything can happen, but there are no factors. This guy's just as good as you can be, pretty much, at as important of a player as you can be, pretty much, and he's as young as you can be going for a contract like this, pretty much. First contract, important position, and he's undoubtedly been crazy impactful, is what I'm trying to say. Pay him.
I don't understand. Did he talk to other teams? Why was the price so low on this trade? It should be, like you said, because 2 seconds. You don't even bat an eye.
It's got to be because he was I have to get the run defender. That's what it had to be. Is that he specifically wanted a certain player.
Clark? He called them because of Clark?
Well, he wasn't. I don't think he was. This is me just completely guessing, but I would suppose that he's I have to get a run defender because there has to be some way where I think the team is not doomed because I'm just trading away talent. We're not sellers.
But could the Lions have offered 3 first-round picks and Tyreek Williams? It would have been worth it.
Yeah, I have no idea. I would have done that.
That's or Tampa, Vea. That's where I'm what?
It's kind of annoying we had to give up Clark at all. It's kind of annoying that we had to give up Clark at all because I am a little bit concerned about nose tackle now because there's just not anybody to fill that void. And the Cowboys are going to be bad enough to the point where it's why wouldn't you want picks? Why do you want this player? Because
it just seems that's not what Jerry Jones is thinking for sure. It has to be. Frankly, it reminds me of this isn't quite a 1-to-1, but you remember when Tyrese Halliburton got traded for way less than he was supposed to? It's because the Kings specifically wanted Sabonis. They weren't looking for to sell on this asset because they thought it was the right move. They were here's how we're gonna swap and game the system, and we'll get the picks or whatever because it's we're trying to rework things. It's different because Clark is not the player that Sabonis is in terms of his importance, and obviously the Packers got more draft capital than the Kings did back. But I think it's kind of a similar mindset where how did they sell low? Because they were trying to buy a certain thing for their team or a certain player. They weren't just flat out selling for the highest draft capital that they could go find for that player because they're not
and they're not looking at it from a rebuilding perspective, blowing it up.
Mm-hmm.
It's
so that's what you usually would do if you traded a star edge rusher.
The other thing I want to say about this deal, one more thing.
Yeah.
Again, I believe that people are in some coat mode about this trade, and they're looking for reasons why the Packers won't be contenders or this will blow up in their face somehow, right? And I think the finger gets pointed at Love a lot, they went all in on the wrong quarterback. They're like the Bears when they traded for Khalil Mack and Mitch Trubisky was the quarterback. I'm sorry, but Jordan Love ain't Mitch Trubisky.
It's not Trubisky.
Not even close.
We can have a conversation about how good exactly Love is. Fine. I think he'll be all right, and I don't think but he's not Trubisky. He's not
Trubisky.
Disaster level QB.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Like if you think Brock Purdy and Jared Goff can win a Super Bowl, then like you would be absolutely insane to think Jordan Love can't.
Yeah, they at least got there, right? They at least got there. And Love last year, like I looked at how they did versus top defenses, top 10 defenses by EPA. Philly, they scored 29 against. Minnesota, they scored 29 and 25 against. Houston, they scored 24 against. Miami, they scored 30 against. They scored 31 against Detroit at some point. 14 the other game. All right, fine, you got me there. But 30 versus Seattle as well. Those are the top 10 defenses they played, which is a tough schedule. That's a lot of good defenses to go up against. And they were third in pass DVOA last year, which account and fourth in DVOA overall. Love was first in yards per attempt versus zone coverage last year, 8.1 yards per attempt. But they were 20th in zone coverage seen because you could play man on these receivers. And then him and Josh Allen had the two lowest sack rates in the league at 2.4% and 3.1%. So he's quite good. You know, he's been up and down in the playoffs for sure. He's thrown some horrible picks in the playoffs, but he also has one of the great playoff performances of all time versus the Cowboys. So he's just not if he's the weak link, if he's a weak link, it's a pretty strong weak link because the guy still has, like, it's 2 years into the league when the Packers got Reggie White. I mean, Brett Favre was nothing more than a promising young guy, right? Like there's still some meat on the bone here for Love to evolve into something greater if he's healthier over the course of the season. And if Matthew Golden hits, and Golden's just another huge reason to be excited about the Packers, right? Like it was lucky that he fell that far. And yeah, it's just hard to imagine a more ideal offseason for them. I think they are right there with the Eagles. I think, you know, they hung with the Eagles last year.
It pisses me off, dude. It really does. And frankly, it makes me mad at you.
Me?
Because your team walked into the offseason, our biggest need is edge rush. We're going to go trade for Micah Parsons. Okay, you're living in la la land, bro. That sucks, dude. That's so unfair. So, I mean, it's a great move.
You know what Matt and I go through every offseason, man?
Right. It's
Jalen Coker. Sorry about Coker, man.
Yeah, Coker's. I've made a video preview. I'm like, they're going to win 7 games. And like, don't count this as an actual take or prediction, but like, I'm just getting a sinking feeling. There's got to be teams that stink. It's like, dude. I saw some tweets about like, who are the Panthers pass rushers? I'm like, that's good. we need some day 2 rookies to be, you know what, really Derek awesome Brown, right away.
Derek Brown is gonna go absolute beast mode. He's gonna have 50 tackles for loss. He's gonna have 50 sacks. He's got to. 50,
I do want to talk about
himself.
I do want to flip the topic here a little bit.
Yeah.
And talk about a little bit of college football because a certain team played a big time game and they came out with the dub. Ohio State took down, you got a little heart above you, Theo animation. Riverside is...
It's because he's on a MacBook.
More technically advanced than ever. But Ohio State beat Texas, and I was super impressed by the way the Buckeyes look. Wasn't a perfect game. There were some drops from the receivers. I think the running back talent isn't going to be as good as it was last year. Shocker. I think the offensive line is still coming together. It's really fresh out there. Mm-hmm. But there were a handful of things that you took away. Mind you, in their first game after losing, 15 players in the draft against the number one team in the country, that you sit there and say, okay, it's a long season, but this team absolutely has it within them to go back-to-back. It can be done. The path is there. First off is Julian saying. Now, the game plan obviously was very limited, as it should be. I was talking for months with my dad, who's a big Ohio State fan, about how it's just such a brutal matchup. Having your first game, you've thrown one pass, and you're going to go up against Texas. It's like it might just be too early. If it was week 3 or 4, it'd be different. So him being not tasked with doing a crazy amount should be no surprise. However, I do think in what we saw out of him, I came away pretty impressed. After watching this last week of college football, one thing that I've noticed paying attention to these quarterbacks, and it's not like we didn't know this before, but you remember as you see for a new season, a placement, the average placement that these guys can put on the football is rough, man. Even guys who I think are not bad players have a hard time getting it within a guy's frame or getting it where they can continue to run. Sayan's placement, I thought, looked really good on a lot of his throws. Particularly, I'm thinking about the throw to Claire. It's like, that wasn't just accurate. That was kind of like absolutely on the money. A couple more he had to Jeremiah Smith. You're like, wow, I mean, that was right in his hands. And of
The
course, like
comeback
on
to
some
Tate,
level,
the comeback
Oh my
to Tate,
God.
in the
comeback
end
to Tate
zone.
was easily his best play. He did have the one deep throw to Tate that was underthrown. That wasn't a great play by him. But outside of that, I thought a lot of his passes were not only like good enough, but were perfect. I mean, they were incredibly
I think
well
the touchdown
placed.
to Tate, that almost looks like he didn't expect Tate to be as wide open as he was, and he kind of like
I think
didn't
he
get
was
to
maybe
his
a little.
yeah, like he was like, oh, let me just get it out there. Like he didn't quite really get
Like,
it.
I don't want to overthrow it. I'm gonna,
Right.
right.
Yeah, just,
And you know what?
yeah.
You know what? It's not a good throw, but there is some truth to better to underthrow it and give your boy a chance than overthrow it and not give him one.
Dude,
It was an underthrow, and it gave him a chance, and Carnell Tate is pretty dang good, and he came down with it. The other thing that I really liked about Sayan is there were a few times where he came under pressure, not as much as it could have been, mind you.
No.
I thought Colin Simmons, I'm like, dude, new offensive line entirely. New, it's going to be a disaster.
Route, I saw another angle of that. Apparently, there was an offensive lineman that just like cleaned out the tight end, and so that's why he had two guys in his face, and he had to scramble out, is because they just like ran into each other.
But I thought he did a really good job in this game, not panicking under serious pressure, and not only just like rolling out and throwing it away, but rolling it out and continuing to keep his eyes downfield. And we saw, on that comeback to Tate, I thought for sure that was it. It's like, okay, he's not even going to really try to make a throw. And he did, and it was really, really money. Obviously, there's a lot more that Sayan has to do. And I think the path for this Ohio State team is mostly going to be if Sayan not only can become a guy who can like just manage the offense, but become an elevator himself, then they can be a different level of passing offense that can go and challenge absolutely everybody. I think that's the end goal. That's the bar. I'm not saying, well, we've seen enough. It's for sure going to happen. But that's the goal over the next 10 games where you want to see Sayan get. But I thought we saw a lot that made you really excited. The other end, and what has me excited about the Buckeyes, is the secondary. And maybe the biggest takeaway is that the secondary should be talked about like the wide receiver unit for Ohio State. The amount of talent that they bring in and with the consistency at which they play at a ridiculous game-changing level is nuts. I'm not going to get into whether or not they're DBU or whatever. It's like, who cares, right?
Yeah.
But I will tell you this. There are games, many of them, big-time games, where the other team simply does not have the talent at wide receiver to run a real drop-back passing offense against these guys. It happens often. We saw last year it happened several times, and we just saw it, I think, again today against Texas. I'm not saying that Arch Manning didn't play a bad game within his own right, and we should get into that in just a second, but
Sure.
I think you look at this Ohio State team and you say, okay, the defensive line got dented some, the pass rush wasn't entirely consistent all of, the time or whatever, and maybe the offensive line and the running backs, like there's still stuff to work on, but you can see where they could be the best in the nation at certain positions. They just took down the number one team. Now they're in the driver's seat to make the playoffs, even if they lose to Penn State, who I think will have their best chance to take down OSU this year as they've had in a while. They're a very good team, but it wouldn't be the end of the world for the Buckeyes. They just need to focus on getting better, leveling up the passing offense, figuring everything out, and being ready for the Michigan game.
I was about to say, beating
super
Michigan.
encouraged by them. I'm really excited.
I do have one other gripe with Ohio State's performance, and that is their run defense. I thought they really struggled against wide zone, and they were overcommitting a ton, which allowed a lot of cutbacks. We saw Texas get off like 10 yards on a reverse because their gap integrity just feels terrible. So that was one thing that I was really concerned about. And that was where I'm like, if Manning had played, because it wasn't even that he played bad, it was pretty much the worst passing performance they could have had on offense.
Yeah,
right.
I mean,
like
it was incredibly
if he had played
rough.
average, I think Texas probably would have won.
Nah, I don't think they would have won if Arch had been
You
an
don't think
average
so?
quarterback. I don't think they would have. I will say that Arch played a really bad game. And you can blame some of that on Ohio State's secondary. We've seen other guys who are hailed as very good prospects go up against OSU. And It's like, can this team even really throw the ball? Specifically, I'm thinking about Drew Aller, frankly, who has had some terrible games where, I think sometimes you can't see what the receivers are doing on TV. People tend to be like, okay, well, this guy must just suck. Or the only throw is like an out route that isn't really open at all. So you put it like as far outside as possible because you don't want it to be an interception. And then it just looks like a misthrow. I think that type of stuff happens. But Arch did play very bad in his own right. I was somebody who was really high on him. I'm like, yeah, I think this guy is up next. And it was more than just the secondary. I mean, there were open throws that he was just missing really horribly. He looked very panicked. People were talking about his mechanics and like him sidearming stuff. And it's like, it was horrible mechanically, but it was almost, it didn't feel like, well, that's just his natural throwing motion and it's so bad and it's awful. It's like he was just nervous or he was like just trying to get the ball out too quick. Am I crazy for thinking that? Because some of them were just so bizarre and so off. So as somebody who's been banging the Arch drum, a decent amount, even if it is just very early rankings, I think you got to take a step back and be like, yeah, there is a reason why Quinn Ewers played last year, most likely. Now, I can say with confidence, he'll probably look better against teams that are not OSU.
No, I think this will probably be the worst game that he plays all year. I'm not willing to be...
really hope.
You would really hope. No,
and some things look good. Like he's clearly a very good athlete.
Yeah. No, his running was really impressive. He was killing some of those angles that the OSU linebackers were taking. And he hit a really great hole shot on the left side. I was trying to tweet out, reminds me of Justin Herbert, and then my phone died. So
it's a sign.
It's a sign that he will never be as good as our glorious King Justin Herbert.
If your phone had been more charged, you would have been able to tweet that out.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, but no, he made some good throws. There was an out route he hit earlier in the game where he was facing pressure and got the ball out quick, and it was timed well. But yeah, most of the throws, and even there were a lot of routes over the middle that he could have hit and just didn't see them or didn't trust that he could fit it into the window, but the throw was open and he just would not let it fly sometimes. So that was definitely something that was concerning, but I do think it'll be better probably going forward for him.
Yeah, I think these
like totally out right
these
now.
Great secondaries, it's like the quarterback is sick, right? You can't see what's happening on the back end. And it just seems like there's something wrong with these quarterbacks, but in reality, there's suffocation downfield. Yeah. There's just nowhere good to throw the ball. You're nervous. The crowd is rocking. Like it does funny things.
Jump balls. It's like, a perfectly play or a deep ball that would get hype on Twitter isn't going to be completed because the coverage is too good. Like that type of
that corner route. I thought that was a good ball, but like, holy cow, one played that so well. I can't remember his last name, but just
there were two guys, and 7 was the one that kind of closed in from the corner spot, and I think there was a safety on the upfield shoulder as well. But 7 was the one that closed in on that and almost like caught it like a punt if he got his head around.
I'm talking about the fourth down at the end of the game. Like it was a thrown ball. And that corner is just all over it, right? Like, and that was finally a time where Arch was able to throw with some touch. It felt like he was really struggling with some of those kind of lasers over the middle on the shallow crosses. It was before the play. It's like, I bet you this is going to be a corner route. Like, I bet you he's going to try to loft this and try to drop it in the bucket just because we hadn't seen him try to make that type of throw before, and maybe the accuracy would be a little bit better. And that's what happened, and it just got swatted. Like the DB was all over it. Downs is the Micah Parsons of college football. I mean, that guy, you're not going to throw it anywhere near his direction. You're not going to glance in his direction without him triggering on it and, going to make a play on the ball. So you've got to keep that in your head, and everybody else is great as well. So I can understand Arch having some wonky mechanics, and they were wonky. But I think a lot of the issues stemmed from that, and I think that is something that can improve with time. I mean, he got better from the first quarter to the fourth, no doubt about it.
Yes.
I mean, I was worried about saying, but I was thinking about this. It's like, really, the take should have been your first big time start, or your first start of your first season being the guy. It's at Ohio State in their secondary. You just couldn't pick much worse than that. I mean, there's just not many spots that you could be in that's a harder situation.
Yeah, I mean,
so
Peyton used to say, as a quarterback, I think of it as me versus the linebackers and safeties. And
those are hard linebackers.
Those are hard linebackers. Those are really hard safety at OSU. So
shout out Arvell Reese, by the way,
he looked like Micah Parsons. Speaking of Micah Parsons, but he was beasting as a blitzer, and they called this ridiculous. Like Patricia, he called that like coffee house blitz.
Yeah, that's the one that's getting a lot of hype.
Yeah. They pretend to drop into coverage and then rushes, and then the guy like had some serious juice doing it. Like that is hard. That is NFL sim pressures. That's what Mike McDonald was doing that got him all that hype before joining the Seahawks. And you're a college kid making his first start. I wish I pushed back a little bit more on the Arch hype, because like, yes, it was when we talked about our top 10 prospects, it's like, it was just like UL Monroe and Mississippi State, who was horrible last year. Like, it's a completely different sport when you go up against Ohio State. The level of difficulty.
It's absolutely true. And I totally overestimated him on games that weren't against great competition.
And then it being true for Saiyan too, like you all think about it with Saiyan, and then Arch just kind of flies under the radar, and like immediately on the first drive, it's like, oh yeah, Arch is going through this exact same thing. But at the same time, it was unfair to call him generational. Like his mechanics were too bad. He can't fold like that under that kind of pressure and be like, again, if his last name was Johnson this whole time, like no one would have put those burdens on him. No one would have completely overlooked that like he is going into this game. So the expectations were too high, but it doesn't mean he can't turn it around. But he's got to prove himself. He's still absolutely got to prove himself. As the year goes on, he needs to fix his mechanics, his accuracy. He looked great as a runner. I think his throws, I was a little bit concerned about his arm. I tweeted that his balls looked ugly, and I deleted it later because it's like, it is a mechanical thing. I do think he can have a more pure, he doesn't have to throw that lollipop that he did on the first pick. Like that was horrible. His arm isn't that weak, but it was bad. It was bad.
Do we want to, there's a lot more games we could talk about, but do we want to get into the playoff swaps?
Before we get into that, of course, got to shout out our good friends over at Chubby's. They were kind enough to send us these super sick polos from their NFL collection. And, just got to say, most comfortable polos in the world. They've got other sports gear too. They've got these mesh shorts and even some swim trunks that are absolutely incredible. And you can put all of your team's logos on them. Like, you're going to be screaming at the TV. Theo's going to be jumping for joy, and he's going to be rocking his Chubbies when he's doing it, watching Micah Parsons come screaming off the edge. And here's the thing. Chubbies really is the ultimate football apparel brand. So much so, they created their own fantasy football league. George Kittle, Ian Rappaport, and others have come together to assemble the Chubbies League on NFL Fantasy. Each week, the top 5 scorers will win a chance at Chubbies Polo shorts combo with their team's logo, and the grand champion gets the ultimate fan experience, a 5-city, 5-stadium NFL game tour with a +1. So, while the fantasy flop faces a hilarious and unforgettable punishment only Chubbies could pull off. So head over to chubbiesshorts.com/the Chubbies League to learn more and have some fun. Sorry guys, I can't talk today. Get ready for the most outrageous fantasy football season of your life. But the best part about all of this is that our friends over at Chubbies are giving all of the Stay Hot listeners an exclusive deal where you can get $10 off with the code STAYHOT at chubbiesshorts.com/stayhot. That's right, $10 off, code STAYHOT. Grab the NFL collection and get your game day fit right. Let's get into these playoff swaps. So it isn't clear already what we're doing. We're taking a playoff team that made it last year, taking them out of the picture and replacing them with a team that we think will make it this year in their place. Is
The
that
general
an apt
theory
way to
here,
describe it?
yeah, the general theory here is like, okay, you never expect it, but every year about half the teams that made it the season before don't make it to the playoffs again.
Yes.
And while like that should cause you, or maybe it seems like it would be too bold to make some of these calls, doing an exercise where you go in saying, all right, who's getting in with the new spots, who's leaving those new spots, if you have to like go up to 7 or 6 and you're focused entirely on that rather than going division by division, who do you think has the best chance to be a fresh face, and who's getting left out?
Oh, yeah.
Can I go first? Can I make the first swap?
Go for it, Theo.
You can.
Okay, I'm going to swap out the Vikings for the Bears. Watching all these college quarterbacks this weekend got me thinking a little bit about J.J. McCarthy.
I see your vision.
Yeah. All right, he was on a run-heavy team through an advantageous situations at Michigan and then was hurt his entire rookie year. He's going to look a little bit more like the quarterbacks we saw on Saturday than some of the quarterbacks we'll be seeing on Sundays. You feel me? And I'm very concerned about that. I'm very concerned about that when the Packers just added Micah Parsons, obviously, and the Lions are still the Lions. And the Bears have also had a really stellar offseason and done about as good of a job as they could. I mean, Donovan Jackson is not as good as Joe Thuney. All right. And KOC and Ben Johnson, it might be a wash. And I'm taking Caleb Williams, who just went through a rough rookie season, to maybe come in with a little bit more poise this time around than even McCarthy, especially when McCarthy is starting with Jordan Addison suspended and Justin Jefferson has a banged up hamstring, right? That's not a good sign to begin the year already.
Right.
So I think the Bears can scheme things up now and make life easy for Williams with all of these weapons in the same way that KOC can for JJ. I just think Caleb is better. And I think even though the weapons are better in Minnesota, ideally, Loveland and Burden and even Zacchaeus and Moore and Adunze, and I can see the vision for Chicago finishing in front of them. I really can. If the offense struggles at all and Brian Flores isn't able to pin his ears back as much as he did last season, the defense is gonna regress a little bit, which is probably a safe assumption, anyway, because they haven't added a really impact defensive lineman or anybody else this offseason, right? So I'm swapping out the Vikings and putting in Ben Johnson and the Bears.
I can see your vision on that as a totally fair swap. I definitely, as the offseason has gone on, have been like, okay, McCarthy is a bigger risk than being led on. It's not all just washed away by the fact that I think he's in a good position. He still has to be a good player within himself. Yeah. And while it's like, yeah, Darnold was super successful with the Vikings and he's not the world's greatest quarterback, he is also somebody who's like, a very talented guy and a long-term vet. And it's not a guarantee that a dude comes in and can be a replacement for that year one. So there's a lot of risk there. I also like the Bears a good amount. I completely agree about their weapons. I think Loveland's going to be really good off the jump. That's definitely the feeling I'm going to get. He's in about as good a position as any other rookie too. No, Ben Johnson, a young quarterback he can, bond with or whatever. So I see the vision on that one. I still feel like the Vikings defense is going to be really great. Maybe it's not quite as good as it was last year just because of, some variance that happens and the big plays don't swing their way as much. It's possible, but I don't know. I think Flores is a good defensive coordinator, and I do think there's a decently safe floor with Minnesota, unless McCarthy is like Zach Wilson level bad, right? Even if he's not great, if he's like, maybe this isn't the franchise guy, maybe we should have kept Darnold, like that's the outcome, they could still end up gathering a pretty decent amount of wins, albeit schedule's very difficult this year in the NFC North.
Right.
It ain't easy. And I wouldn't want to be in that division trying to win games with the QB I don't trust.
I wouldn't want to be in that division trying to like make up ground. Like you said, Theo, like their receivers being out early in the year is not going to make things easy on McCarthy in the early going. If they get off to kind of a slow start where they're 3-4 games back from the division, like trying to make up ground late in the year with some of these teams is going to be tough sledding. You're muted, but I'm sure you're spitting. You're still muted, but
yeah. I mean, I don't think Jefferson's gonna miss week 1, but it's just like, could he? Hamstrings can be a little bit tricky.
Yeah.
And, to be fair, it's like, yeah, if Jefferson's dealing with a hamstring issue, all of a sudden everything is like in great peril, right? Because while I think their run game should be better with their investments, it's not like they're working from a place where it was a strength, like a big strength for them last year, right?
Right.
And Fries isn't the best run blocker. And we'll see about Donovan Jackson. He's just a rookie who was reached on a little bit, right? Like the consensus board didn't love that pick. So are they really going to be in a mode where they can pound the rock like they want to? I like the interior offensive line upgrades. I like that they went out and did that. And Jordan Mason could be a good add. But this was not a team that could really run the ball when they were up last year. They did such a good job in the first quarter getting up, but their offense wasn't that good the rest of the way in quarters 2, 3, and 4. And I think the run game was a big part of that. And did that all go away? Are they going to be able to just mash it with Mason? Now that they've added guys like Fries and Kelly and Jackson, like maybe, but it's just not quite as much of a slam dunk as getting Ben Johnson or Aiden Hutchinson back or, what the Packers did. So, yeah, I'm a little bit doubtful that that's going to offset what maybe offset, because we don't even know about McCarthy. Like Darnold really did collapse. Maybe it's better, but it's.
I mean, yeah, they were the only team in the NFC really to get belt to ass in the playoffs.
Yeah.
Can I go next?
Go for it, Matt.
I will go the Los Angeles Rams in place of the Arizona Cardinals. In my gut, I don't necessarily think that the Rams are going to like all the way miss the playoffs, but I think the path is pretty clear, and I'm a little bit lower on them than consensus, right? So for the sake of this experiment, I'll cut them. There's a few issues I have with Los Angeles. First off, I think people have kind of taken them being like a feisty playoff team and like someone you don't want to see and decided that they're now like perfectly well-rounded. And I've even done that some myself, but this is a team that has a lot of holes. Now, don't get me wrong. They have Sean McVay, who's a great coach. They have Matthew Stafford, who's a great experienced quarterback. Their wide receivers are very good, and their pass rush is very good. Those are like a lot of the most important things. But between that, I don't think they're like some incredibly stacked team. And to be honest, their defense was not good last year. It wasn't. Not statistically. Their secondary is really rough, and it's not like they made some major addition where you're like, well, that'll definitely be different this season. So I guess the question is, why do we have them as like this awesome defense this season? Maybe there's progression from like, okay, the pass rush is actually going to be super crazy sick. And last year it was only very good because the guys were young, and now it's like year 2, it'll be different. It's like, okay. Or maybe it's like last year people were banged up and it's like Stafford's going to be good to go. And with Puka and Adams, like everything is different. But like there's a lot of question marks there too. Adams is pretty old, and I don't think it's necessarily all on him, but like he could continue to decline, certainly. Puka is injury prone, I think, or has at least missed a little bit of time and is somebody who I feel like is nagged by stuff, although maybe that's too critical. And most importantly, Stafford is like hobbling into the season a little bit. Any one of these cards that falls for them could be really, really bad, whether it be the receivers, because I don't think Stafford could be as creative as he used to, whether it be just the secondary or the defense outside of the pass rush in general, or, whether it be the QB. So there's a lot of paths to this team, like just having a bad break and kind of falling apart a little bit. I can't deny the upside. They are a threat because they're good at the most important things, but this is still a 10-win team that had a winning record in one-score games last season. They were 7-5 and is now going to be playing in a division that I think is tougher if the 49ers are back up to speed a little bit and if the Cardinals are better like I think they're going to be. The thing with Arizona is that they won 8 games last year. I think they pretty clearly improved in the offseason in terms of their defense and getting up to a baseline level of talent there. And they're coming off a year where the one-score game variance was not in their favor. They were probably a better team than the record shows. So with their new additions of like Sweat and bringing in Will Johnson and just across the board finding some baseline of talent, I like Arizona's odds of being a new playoff team. They're kind of a sleeper, and there's some ways to be low on them too, of course, like Kyler has his limitations, and, you know, is Marv going to break out as like that true crazy weapon? And, okay, a defense that got better but was working from a place of like really not good. How is it going to be a great defense or is it going to be a better defense? And how much does that help you?
Right.
But
that's kind of my
think
biggest concern is, like, even though the Rams defense wasn't very good, like as an overall unit, the Cardinals were kind of hovering around that same EPA level, and their success rate was one of the worst in the league last year. So I don't know. I see your vision. I really do, because I'm pretty high on the Cardinals, but maybe not as high as you.
Yeah, I'm just not as low on the Rams. Like the Rams,
I just disagree. I really think they're getting a little bit too much credit for playing the Eagles close, and it's like it's a single football game. If I'm being honest, there's just too many like there's places where they're not strong, man, and I think people overestimate their defense a little bit. I do. I will see. Like the Rams are tricky because I think they're a well-run team. They're one of the teams where it's like I just think like you should bet on them in general. And they also tend to find talent from unexpected places. Like, okay, sometimes like their day 3 picks will break out and that's the unexpected change. Like, yeah, that could totally happen. But this was a 10-win team last year. This was not some stacked, granted they
yeah, but they were injured last year. Like, dude,
well,
was
that's
washed.
not
It might be
Puka was hurt for like you said, a significant amount of time. Joe Noteboom got hurt. Steve Avila got hurt. Like Jonah Jackson got hurt. Havenstein missed like 5 games. Like the offensive line, they probably could have beat Detroit week 1 if they didn't have the third stringer out there blocking Aiden Hutchinson and getting cooked literally every single play. I think the run game is going to be better. I think the passing attack can be significantly better because of the addition of Adams. And just like when it comes down to it, I want Stafford and McVay and Adams and Puka. Like if they're to play to play Green Bay or the Eagles, like the thing I trust with them more than like even more than Hurts at this point is just like they can, if they're down big and they need to throw to get back into the game, like they're going to do it. And I don't think Stafford is going to throw the dumb interception. And I know that maybe he will. He's done it plenty of times. I guess he's thrown plenty of dumb interceptions.
He's thrown plenty of dumb. But to your point, Theo, I will say I think a lot of the close game variance that you see with a lot of these teams almost is sort of negated with the Rams because they win those close games because they have the bones, the experienced vets. They have Stafford and McVay.
Okay, like, I'll give you that, but then I'm countering with this. Philosophically, the Rams and the 49ers build their teams out kind of similarly. They do.
Yeah.
And one thing that is true about those two teams, they do not care about players being injury prone. They like to roll the dice on that. That's the truth. When they go make a big signing, they're perfectly willing to bring in somebody who is old. Or when they have Stafford, he's injury prone. He's an injury prone player. And I think like, yeah, maybe it's unfair to like blame them for that. But like, I really think there's more paths to this team not repeating what they did last year than people want to admit. I don't entirely disagree. Like if I wrote out my 7 on the platform, maybe this is cheating. Like maybe I'd still have the Rams in there, but I think the Cardinals have a good chance to win this division. I think they're a little underrated. And I'll be honest, like I don't think you can say that you like the Cardinals and you agree, but you don't think they're going to make the playoffs. They were an 8-win team. They were an 8-win team last year, and they were 3-5 in one-score games, and they got better. Are we projecting less than 10 wins?
I think the Cardinals are massively underrated. I think they probably have a good shot at the playoffs. I just don't know if I would swap out the Rams.
Well, then who would you swap out? I'm willing to open up that conversation.
In the NFC, who would I replace? I guess that is like Minnesota is probably the first team that comes to mind. I could see maybe Washington. Just
Washington's the other one.
Big on their defense.
Certainly, Washington is the other team that comes to mind. Is like they were very good in one-score games, and like their roster is not as strong. So, like I like that avenue as well. For maybe the Cardinals get in as a wild card spot, and the Rams stay healthy, and they do whatever.
But I'll give you outside of that, it's hard. Like you're not going to say Green Bay because.
They just got better, definitely better than they were last.
I wouldn't say Tampa because they're the clear favorite to win the NFC South.
It's not even a spot that the Cardinals can get.
Right.
Unless something crazy happens here in the next couple of days.
It'd be insane. And you wouldn't say the Lions, right? So
I wouldn't say the Lions unless you think the coordinators are going to be a disaster. And like brain drain, crushing them, I guess, isn't impossible. But truly, if you're projecting that, I think you're just kind of guessing. To be fair, though, I guess I'm doing the same with the Rams being a little bit more injury prone. And maybe it's like I'm reading too much news on Stafford and he's fine this year and it's fine.
He's always playing through something.
He is always playing through something, but like that's like not an issue until it is. You know what I'm saying? Especially for a guy who I feel like is less mobile than
nothing ever happens until it happens, you know.
Yeah. And he played in 2022. He played 9 games, and the Rams went 3-6. I can see Stafford's thing scaring you, and the secondary was quite bad last year and ruined a really good front four. But I think Devontae is going to be a really, really nice addition, and I think that the injury luck can actually bounce back into their favor a little bit. The division's super tough, though. I like the Cardinals. I still think the 49ers have a lot of star power, and I'm nervous fading the Seahawks. Like they're my 4th place team. I'll be real with you. I just saw Ryan Grubb at Bama, and I was reminded maybe a little bit like this guy.
I'll be real with you, bro. I was watching some of that Gray Zabel and preseason. Like, man,
a little balance.
I still question the passing offense. Like, we can say that Darnold is like, you know, he's like a solid QB, like a starting caliber or whatever. And it's like maybe they did, you know, get worse in these 2 ways, but the offensive coordinator in the run game gets there, and it's like this is K9's big year or whatever. And the defense could be, but it's like, all right, I can get behind. But I still don't think the passing offense is going to be great. And it's just tough. It's tough to get too high on a team where you're like, well, the passing offense, like where you're just kind of like forfeiting that step one. That probably won't be very good. However, I will say it's like, if you're trying to find one of these teams that'll be like defense and good grinding run game that'll be sneaky, Seahawks are not a bad pick. I like them more than other teams in that category, I guess.
Yeah, they've got a shot. They've got a real shot. But again, Cup was falling off the cliff a little bit last year, and you could see it when Nakua went down, and he is going to be relied on hugely, right? Like losing DK Metcalf is a big deal. Teams were still doubling him last year, and that allowed JSN to really feast over the middle. I think they could see more one high this time around. With Jake
I think
Bobo
Cup was a pretty big
role.
downgrade at receiver. Like I really am worried about. I'm really worried.
I just don't think he complements like JSN as much as DK did.
Yeah, and we don't know what Zabel is going to be like. Maybe in pass protection, like some preseason clips where he gets movement is cool. But like I think about the first rep of preseason, I think it was, and Adam Butler just like manhandled them. Right. So is he going to be all that and more if it's less too high shells with the DK around? Like I can see more bodies going to the box and kind of negating some of these things. So we'll see with them, but they are a little bit sneaky. I can get down with the vision. I just don't know if it'll be actualized. But yeah, it's a tough division for Los Angeles if Stafford is not his usual self. Like you said, Matt, the end does come quickly, but I just have faith in the big the big 3 in the pass rush, really. And Kyron Williams with a healthier offensive line is nothing to shake a stick at either. So I wouldn't swap them out, but I like it. Blaiden, is there an AFC swap?
I was going to say there's so many things in the AFC, and you both went NFC, and that was kind of shocking to me. I'm going to take kind of the low hanging fruit here. I think the Steelers will miss, and I think the Jags will take their place. That to me is kind of the easiest swap that I first thought of was like this.
I agree about the Steelers being kind of like when you look at the field, who could miss? You pick Pittsburgh. They had a winning record in one-score games. I don't think they really got that much better this offseason. They've got some key guys who are old. They're kind of a low ceiling offense. I don't think the Jaguars are a bad pick. I don't think they're obvious.
Well, okay, maybe the obvious pick would be, or most people's pick would be the Bengals, right? Because
that would be my That would be my pick as the first team in the
I am not convinced that the Bengals are some playoff lock. I think their defense is still too bad.
Certainly not.
So that's why I'm not like leaning into them right now. But Jacksonville's defense could be kind of up in the air also. But I'm more just buying into. I think that's a team that can be really, really good offensively this year. And same with Cincinnati. But I'm really buying into Brian Thomas Jr. taking another step. Travis Hunter looks like an absolute freak of nature in preseason. I think he's going to be really good for this offense. And I think he's going to be a good player for them defensively. And like for all the concerns about, oh, well, is he going to have the stamina to play both ways full time? Dude, I don't think it's going to be a problem. Like I keep thinking back to it was his first preseason game and he's like on offense and defense. He's like running around on and off the field. Like he's moving faster than everyone else and he's playing both ways. I'm just not super worried about it at all as far as like an endurance thing. Is he going to get too tired? Is it going to be a little too physical for him? I think really he's just going to be a great player for them. And I'm trusting in Trevor Lawrence to be the quarterback.
I think Trevor Lawrence is probably better than public opinion right now. Yeah, and I think he's got importantly a guy who I believe to be a really good play caller in Liam Cohen, who is kind of the master of mixing things up and throwing out that trick play that, you know, can create a big gain or an explosive without really putting a lot of pressure on like the QB themselves. And I think that his receiver room is looking really nice. I mean, really good. I think Brian Thomas Jr. is a beast. He was unbelievable as a rookie. And I think that Travis Hunter is going to be really great on that end too. So I think he's got two serious playmakers. If Hunter hits, are we talking about this receiver room up there with basically everybody?
Right. And I do think their defense is better than Cincinnati's. Like just on paper, I think it is better. Like they were missing Tyson Campbell for so much of for parts of last year. Just having him back alone, I think makes them better. Just because they have like a real number one corner, and that's something that I mean, the Bengals haven't had since what, like 21, maybe even before that. So, and then with the addition of Hunter, and they still have Hines Allen. They've got Trayvon Walker. Like these are guys that, like all those guys alone are better than most of the Cincinnati defense. Yeah,
it's Walker, it's Devon Hamilton, it's Eric Armstead, and it's
Hamilton and Hamill. Yeah,
and it's Hines Allen. Would you rather have that front or the Bengals front? I'd probably rather have the Jaguars front. And then for the corner duo, would you rather have Campbell and Travis Hunter or
I cannot.
That's true, but the Bengals offense is also better and more proven.
It's better and more proven, but Liam Cohen did a lot last year. Like
I think look, I'm in on the Jaguars. I'm not trying to be too negative about them. I'm a fan, but I don't dislike the Bengals as a pick here to be.
If you were power ranking the league, you'd put Cincy ahead of Jacksonville.
I think
that's a fair way. I think that's a fair way.
At least to start the season, I would. I mean, maybe that's kind of a cop out, but there's still a lot of unknowns in Jacksonville. Even if I like Travis Hunter, and we love Travis Hunter, you know, we've got to see it first. I think Lawrence is better. I think the passing offense will be good. I think a lot of things about the Jaguars. With the Bengals, this is going to be crazy for a team that didn't make the playoffs, but I do know a little bit more. I know their passing offense will be very good. So assuming health, which I guess is an assumption, but
Yeah, I mean, assuming health, it's just they're gonna be in so many games where if they don't score 40, it feels like are they gonna be able to win those games? Like they lost games like that last year, so I don't know. But if let's say hypothetically we put both Jacksonville and Cincinnati in the playoffs, we take out the Steelers. What would be the other AFC team that you would take out here?
That's a good question. I think we're about to disagree.
I am so back and forth on Houston. I don't think I think the Jaguars can overtake them for the division, but I don't know if Houston will fall out of the playoffs entirely. I think they could still be a wild card team.
I'm looking.
That's leaving you two options.
I'm looking at the AFC West right now, big dog.
Yeah, there's the Chargers and Broncos.
Are the Chiefs, the Bills, and the Ravens. So it's got to be AFC West.
It's got to be the Chargers or the Broncos. I think they could both miss it.
It's possible.
I'm leaning more Chargers, man.
I'm leaning more Chargers as well. I'm just not as low on the Broncos as you are, Theo. I understand the concern about Bo Nix not being like a game-changing QB. Fine. Like, there's other teams in here, like Justin Herbert's better and Stroud and, those type of guys. But ultimately, like, this Broncos team, tell me what you want about the variance. They have a very good defense. And I think that very good defense got better. And I think there's more talent at running back than there was last year, and the run game can be better. And I think Nix, for what it's worth, was not bad last season. And I think there's some parts of his game that do translate. Sure, he's not, I don't think he's an elite guy, but I do think he can use his legs well. I do think he does a good job not taking sacks. And I do think throwing an accurate deep ball and having nice placement on some short stuff, I think that gets you a lot of the way. If Nix was like a crazy, like if I thought the Broncos had like a top 3 quarterback, we'd be talking about them entirely different. If they had like a top 5 quarterback, we'd be talking about them entirely differently. But I'm not asking them to, go win the Super Bowl. I'm asking, will they make the playoffs again? And frankly, I think if I counted this right, a team that went 1-6 in one-score games is probably not going to be the victim of bad variance. Probably not. And that's what the Broncos are. And frankly, they were unlucky last year. You can chalk that up to, I don't know, like being bad in high leverage moments if you want to. But I think they're kind of bound to improve in that aspect. And I think they got better this offseason. I do. So maybe the tape is out on Nix, but I like them.
Is there any aspect... How many position groups of the Chargers do you think are better than the Broncos? Quarterback, obviously. Probably running back.
I would take Hampton over Harvey or J.K. Dobbins.
Is that it?
Receiver is like a little marginal. I don't think there's like a massive gap. And this is why I think Ladd is
the best receiver.
Yeah, I would take Ladd over anybody the Broncos have, but I have concerns about the Chargers outside receivers where I'm like Sutton is pretty good for the Broncos. So, and like I think Ingram can be pretty good. It's like, I don't know. I think maybe I like Ladd the most, but maybe the Broncos are a little bit more well-rounded at pass catching weapons, not crazily so, but I'm like, okay, Mims can do some stuff and, so on and so on. But there's some potential for like the Chargers guys outside. It's just like making me a little nervous as a whole that they're kind of relying on that. I don't know if I love this experiment because the gap between how much better or worse people are at positions.
The gap matters.
And what type of team you are. It's like, I don't know. I just think the Broncos are going to have a very good defense again. And I think they weren't particularly lucky last year. To me, they don't have the markings of a team that's going to miss the playoffs. Maybe you're worried that the offense doesn't have the highest ceiling. Okay, but I don't think they're going to miss the playoffs.
Yeah. I mean, I would take the Chargers offense as a collective whole over the Broncos offense because of Herbert, like point blank period. The Chargers swept Denver last year. I don't know. I think they're even though they lost Slater, and I think the Broncos had a better offseason, it definitely puts the Chargers in peril. But because of Herbert, they were starting at a much higher point, and they swept the Chargers, and they swept the Broncos, and they swept the Raiders too. So, like, it was really just the Chiefs giving them trouble.
But both of those teams, I would say, got better this offseason.
They did, and I think the Raiders more so probably, but
the Broncos are starting
did.
from a higher point though than the Raiders. So
yeah, that's certainly true.
And that's the other thing is, like, would I put the Raiders in the playoffs? I lean no at this point.
Look, I can't say that they're one of my top picks, unfortunately. I see the vision. I think they're interesting, but they're not like my first pick. I still have questions about the weapons as a whole. I still have questions about the defense. You know, I love Geno. I love a lot of the moves that they've made, but they're working from a low point.
Theo, you were the only one to pick a team in their division to go from worst, not even worst to first, I guess, but like worst in the division to making the playoffs. Are there any other teams that we look at here that we think, like, maybe San Francisco is one, just because I feel like they probably got so unlucky last year with
San Francisco for Washington makes a lot of sense. Saying that, you know, the two out, or I guess if you're counting the Vikings for you, Theo, like Washington, the Rams could miss, and the Vikings could miss are probably the three easiest targets over there. I do think San Francisco will be considerably better. I don't think they're going to be the best version of themselves, but I do think they're going to bounce back on some level.
Yeah, I think so too. And then the total dark horse would be New Orleans, but I don't really think so. I don't think the Bucs are going to fall off that much. I'm a little bit concerned about Baker because, you know, he led the league in interceptions and fumbles last year, and he took 40 sacks. That's a lot of negative plays. He just counteracted that with, you know, all the good that he did. He had, did he have he had 40 touchdowns and like a ton of yards too. I can't remember off the top of my head how many it was. But obviously he kept things on the rails and was able to offset the copious amount of negatives that he took. But with Liam Cohen gone and with Tristan Wirfs and Godwin starting the year banged up, could the Buccaneers stumble a little bit is something I'll be keeping an eye on. Todd Bowles' defense last year, they were a little bit underwhelming. You know, they got some big stars there, but their pass defense was one of the worst in football. So if the offense is struggling at all, I'm not sure if the defense is going to be able to carry the load. But eventually Wirfs will come back, and eventually Godwin will come back, and Mbuka, I liked him so much as a prospect. So I think they've just still got a lot more talent on paper compared to the rest of this division, and so much experience at this point, right? They're always winning this division. They're always in the playoffs. Like, why would it change?
Far more reliable than any other team in this division. They
replaced Canales with Cohen, and it was fine, right? So maybe they can do it again. So I think I still project them to win this division for sure. And they're not really as old as you think either. Like, they've got some old, like Levante's old, and Evans is old.
I feel like this was more true a couple years ago. Maybe
they're actually one of the, I think they're below average in average age. So it's not like they're totally banking on a bunch of like just old men out here. They've got a good infusion of vets who are there for the Super Bowl run and like young, exciting talent. But I'm just not sure if I totally trust the quarterback or coaching staff this time around. So if they fall off, like, it would be kind of wide open because none of the other teams in the division are good.
I'm just not there on the Saints with you, man. I think it's a crazy pick.
I think their quarterback situation's too bad.
It's too bad, and their defense with Staley, like, I just think they're going to get ran on and maybe be the worst. I think with Derek Brown back, this could be the worst run defense in football next year. So I'm not there, but like the Bills aren't loosening their grip, I don't think.
No, I will give you an actual worst to first that is the most reasonable, and that's the AFC South. That's Tennessee. They can do exactly what Houston did. Right. If we're saying that Houston's offensive line is still not where it needs to be. Their offense could still struggle a little bit. If we're saying Jacksonville might still be a year away from being ready to reclaim the division, this could be, Tennessee. Cam Ward comes out the gate and is just firing on all cylinders. Calvin Ridley's still a pretty solid receiver, very, very athletic, and can be a good guy in open space if they want to really start, just hitting those crossers, getting into the kind of their 49ers bag a little bit. Tyler Lockett's still a good player, not so much after the catch, but he's still got pretty solid hands. Not so much after the catch, no. So like that would be the path. Would be like if Cam Ward has a really great rookie season, and he very well could. I like him a lot as a prospect. And you would need the defense to
I could kind of see that. I mean, if we're just talking like if we can talk and be like any team you pick to go worst from first is crazy. It's like we're trying to envision.
But like Houston was 3-13-1, and they went, was it 10-7 the year after?
Yeah, it sounds crazy, but it was crazier with Houston. It was crazier with Washington.
Right.
It happened.
I will say, I think the most likely worst to first is the Niners.
Yeah.
It's kind of cheating, but it's probably the 49ers. That division is.
I just think their division's harder.
There's good teams.
That's what makes
it's a harder division, but like I don't think there's any team that's like dominant in there. It's a hard division because I don't think the worst team is very bad, I guess is my thought, rather than I think the top team is so incredibly strong, where it's like, even if you're high on the Patriots, and even if we don't think the AFC East is like that good, they're not a good worst to first pick because like you basically like need the Bills to collapse. It's not even the Patriots could go have an awesome season. They could win 11 games.
And yeah, it probably wouldn't be
division.
Yeah.
So I think the Niners would.
Yeah, I'm with you with the Niners. I'm with you with the Niners. I don't think the Saints will do it. Like, don't hold me to it. But I do think.
Well, I'm just saying the first team that comes to mind is New Orleans over the Atlanta Falcons, or perhaps the Carolina Panthers.
Mm-hmm.
What about Theo? You had the Bears making it. Do you think they could go worst to first? I mean, Detroit has this massive brain drain. Ragnow's gone. Like, there is definitely a world where they get off to a really slow start.
It's hard for me to say that they're going to be like, I could see a big collapse for Detroit like the Eagles had in 2023, right? But at this point, it's hard for me to see them getting past the Packers.
Their division is ruthless. There's too many teams that could, like, if this and this goes right, they'll win 14 games. That's the issue for Chicago.
But are the Bears one of those teams?
Yeah, but like it just depends. The number of things you're asking to go right is a little bit higher. And the reason why it's tougher for Chicago is not that they aren't a worthy team. If they were playing in the right division, they'd be everybody's favorite pick to go worst for first. And they weren't that bad last year. They weren't that bad.
They won 5.
Compared to like some of the worst teams where it's like they won 2 or like they're the Browns or whatever.
Right.
But
I don't think no one won 2 games last year. The Browns won. So maybe the Browns won 3. Tennessee won 3, and the Giants won 3.
But the issue is like if JJ McCarthy hits, the Vikings could win 14 games. If the brain drain doesn't affect the Lions and Hutchinson's back, like the Lions could win 14 games. If Micah Parsons changes the Packers defense and makes them like one of the scarier units because he's just that impactful on his own, like the Packers could win 14 games. The Bears could win 12. If I told you right now the Bears would win 12 games, would you project them to win the division? Like, probably not. I kind of think so.
Like they could, but it would be like... They could,
but you'd be like, I might take the odds that they don't at 12.
Like the Vikings won 14 games last year, and they were second in the division.
Yeah, so the line is just really high in that division.
They probably have the worst pass rush and the worst run game in the division, and then their passing attack is I'm high on it. I think it can work, but it's no sure thing. Maybe they have the best secondary. They probably have the best secondary in the division, but I don't know if that's going to get them past these other teams. So I don't think the Bears are going to do it.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if there's a team that would be like absolutely shell shocking if they missed. And if there's any world,
there's 5 teams that would be absolutely shell shocked.
Right, Buffalo,
like it doesn't make any sense.
Kansas City, Philly,
And Detroit.
Detroit. Those are
Those are the teams where it would be like, what happened? The only team where it's like, I guess you could say you can like see the path is Detroit, where it's like their division's brutal, and what if like again the coordinators are awful, and
you can definitely see it in the NFC more than the AFC. Those AFC three are here to stay.
I'm trying to be like, is there any world where like Kansas City misses or Baltimore misses, and the only vision is like Mahomes gets hurt, Lamar.
Yeah, and then you're projecting like,
and then it's just like that's not even a worthwhile conversation.
So. And I don't believe that's going to happen with the Lions. I'm just saying if we're spitballing ways for one of those fives to do it, there's actual changes that have happened to them where you're like, that could be bad. And they're in the toughest division in the NFL. That division is brutal, dude. It is nasty. So we'll see. We have one more podcast until the NFL season starts. And then we're going to be all the way back. I was feeling all the way back yesterday when we were watching college football. I won't lie. I was like, this is okay. We're, week 0, cool. The Thursday night games, like I'm watching the Bearcats lose in incredibly frustrating fashion, whatever.
It's Mahomes' clone,
It's Mahomes' clone, fine. But we're just about there. I'm so pumped, man. I'm really looking forward to it. And then there's another level. And then you get to the part of the year where basketball's back, too. And then you're really.
And if you're tapped into the Stay Hot Patreon, you'll get a weekly. We got to
shout out to Patreon a little bit more, but shout out to the Patreon, man. It's been a lot of fun. We've had a lot of good guests on the NBA.
I did not do a pod this week, but I'm doing a video on Parsons that I should finish tonight or tomorrow. So if you haven't gotten enough of me mentioning Parsons in this episode, which has been at least a dozen times, there's even more.
Come on. If you're tapping into the podcast, has a Packers fan on it, and then you're being like, Parsons is coming up a lot. What the hell is this? Like, I don't know.
There's a point in that episode where maybe I compared too many college
comparing every Ohio State player, like Parsons.
A little bit like Parsons. Josh Downs, Josh Downs is like him because he's really good, and then number 8 is like him because he's a pass rushing linebacker who had some.
That's awesome, though.
Parsons-esque plays.
Your team just. That's a crazy trade. I wouldn't be any different.
Yeah, if my team was good, I would talk about them all the time. I talk about my team all the time, and they suck. So
yeah, I have so much more to say about him too. Like
he's a demon.
He's a demon. He is not 1/11th. I feel like people have this thing in their head of like good NFL players are really just 1/11th. It's not like a really good NBA player. And the sad thing, it is. It sadly very much is.
I feel like a really good pass rusher is effectively like 4/11ths, right?
4/11ths,
because they manipulate the way that they like impact everyone else on the defensive line to such a high level.
Yeah, I mean, and it's across all. I think across all positions, it's a little bit true, but like especially with wide receiver and edge, like when the Bills got Stephon Diggs, like I really think that's like the Lakers getting Anthony Davis. Like I think it just vaults you into a whole nother tier of contender when you get a guy like that. Like obviously you need the quarterback in place who's talented, but like these others
crazy they traded for Parsons, bro. That's so nuts, dude.
It's just as big as a Luka trade. Like Luka even it might be bigger because I feel like people talk about the Lakers these days and they're like, there's no way the Lakers make any noise.
So you guys are recording the NBA. I never really understood. So you guys are recording the NBA pod when this happened. Matt, what was Theo's reaction for those people?
Well, first he didn't believe it because our friend of the show, Ben Pfeiffer, broke it to him. He got Pfeiffer nuked. And then he was just like, we were waiting to see what he gave up. And I'm thinking like, well, let's not celebrate that. Like maybe they gave up. Maybe they gave up like everything, and it's like, well, and then it came in that it's just like a big trade, but nothing too crazy. And then
it's a big bag of chips and maybe.
And then he was really excited.
Yeah, I mean, I just couldn't believe that they did it. Like that was kind of my main takeaway. Was I just
stuff like that. It's just one of those things where it's like it's just like people. It's like the people in your fan base on Twitter are getting excited about the possibility, and you're like, guys, good things like this just don't happen in life. And the fact that you're tricking yourself into believing they will, it shows your foolishness and your ignorance, and then it does.
Yeah.
But it really does suck because like your team made one of the best trades ever. Like this is going to go down as one of the best trades ever, I think, as far as like NFL is concerned.
Yeah, I 100% agree.
And my team made maybe the worst trade in sports history.
Truly.
Like,
it's insane. It is insane how bad that trade went.
Like
Browns versus Packers, dude.
Why do you get
some teams know how to win, bro? Like the Packers know how to win. Like every time they face a crucial decision, they like know how to win and they know how to make the right moves. And like the Browns just have like they're lost in the fog without a map. Like they just don't know how to win. I'm sorry.
Well, I've been thinking about this, because how many teams have like a super like in touch owner that's like involved in like day-to-day football action?
The Cowboys.
Or like but how many teams have that where the owner, where you're like, dude, owner's cooking? Like how many owners do we look at that do anything other than like they hire a GM or something? Other than, where it's like, unless they're just like literally signing checks, how many owners are actually?
I don't know, like the Rams and the Rams and those guys. I mean, that guy owns like every sport. He owns like Manchester City, and
in general, I agree. It's bad to have an owner who did not get his wealth from being smart about football to want a big input in the team, because a lot of those times those guys don't know a ton about football. Yeah, I think that's totally fair. One last thing before we end the episode, while we're on the topic of the Browns, I have received a premonition from Pops.
What does he
has
think?
Delegated his prediction down to me. He said, "Please let Blaiden know the Browns will be winning. The Browns will be winning one game this season." Is how he's calling it. And he said everybody knows that they're bad, but many people are forgetting they're the Browns, and that this is a terrible team that has terrible things happen to them. Blaiden is optimistic, and he's picking them to win 5 games. What does that tell you? Blaiden picked them to win 10 games when he was 15, when they won 0. They didn't win any games. Now, my dad is obviously a little negative about this type of stuff. He's been hardened by 60 years of being a Cleveland Browns fan, but I've wanted to get that one in. He's
one game.
He's not feeling it.
One game. I mean,
I think
it's not
Garrett
impossible.
can prevent them from that.
I mean, Garrett won them a game by himself when he was DPOY. So like,
it's crazy they didn't trade Garrett. It's so crazy that Parsons got traded and Garrett didn't.
See, if they did trade Garrett, I would project them to win like 1, maybe
nothing.
2.
Yeah, they were winning nothing. They're -1-18.
But like, if you trade Garrett, Jim Schwartz probably is like, bro, I can't do this.
Probably.
Schwartz and Stefanski, if you can hear us, get us to 5 games. Me and Blaiden are on the same page here that they can get to 5.
That's what I'm like. I think
the more you talk about
good
get
enough
to 5, the less. That's not the type of verbiage you use on teams that are winning 5. Granted, I guess I said that about the Panthers last year. I said they're going to be feisty. But
the Saints and the Browns can get to 5, bro.
I think the Browns are better than the Saints. I really do.
Who is your worst team in the league?
Panthers.
It's not going to.
Panthers.
It's the Saints. No, I think it's the Saints. The Saints are the worst team in the league. I think the Browns are better than the Saints. I think they're better than the Jets. That's my really hot take. Is I think the Browns could be better than the Jets.
Yeah, I'm with you on the Jets. I picked the Patriots to finish below the Jets, but no, I think Fields is going to be terrible again. Fields is awful. I'd rather have
bad.
Flacco could be better than Fields.
I see the vision.
Like downgrade at quarterback, downgrade at receiver. I'm not high on the Jets right now.
Glenn has got a lot of spirit. You're
saying, and you just talk yourself into it. I don't win a feisty 5.
I think
they just have a lot of heart.
They got a lot of heart. All right, they lacked Aldrich. He lacked heart.
Okay, but so you're going into the season saying the Saints have a lot of heart? This I don't believe.
Dude, they have a lot. They have the best center in the league. All right, and McCoy is going to carry them, just like Garrett is going to carry the Browns. Just you
Getting
wait.
carried by the best center in the league.
Y'all don't want to hear it now, but when they're hoisting the Lombardi Trophy and he's the MVP, don't come crying to me.
Eric McCoy, Super Bowl MVP.
Everyone's laughing. You hear this, McCoy?
This would move mountains. You know what? This would restore my faith in the direction of professional
Banks,
sports.
McCoy, Penning, Fuaga, Ruiz. They're not letting that shit happen, bro.
Eric McCoy, Offensive Player of the Year. Start the
Protector of the Year, Protector of the Year, deep sleeper. Eric McCoy.
Dude, the Cowboys play Philadelphia on Thursday, bro.
Dude, yeah.
Dak is gonna get. The Cowboys could be the worst team in the league. Like,
I just don't think. I just think if Dak plays with CD and Pickens, like, you're gonna be the worst team in the league with a good passing offense.
So like that.
True.
Yeah.
True. But if we're gonna go as far to predict quarterbacks to get injured, like, there's a lot of every other team we've talked about here just doesn't have a good QB to get injured.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, I think the defense is not going to be good.
Who is the Cowboys' left tackle right now?
Is it not?
Is it Guyton didn't tear his ACL? Is he going to be out there? Okay, it looks like he's going to be out there. Guyton's not that good, first of all, and if he's questionable and misses, it's going to be like Nate Thomas or Akeem Adeniji out there.
Why is Tyler Smith questionable?
I don't know. He's probably not questionable, and that's probably just an ESPN.
Dak's got a lot of heart. He's also on my 32-team league, and he's dope. So
you need him to be good for your 32-team league.
In theory, the Parsons trade is perfect.
Dude, I mean,
for
this
my
is
fantasy team.
But I know I totally see the vision for them being just like horrible, like bad running team, bad defense,
bad pass protection, potentially. like
Jesus,
things could go off
And
the rails. Like, it sounds great for fantasy, right? Like, oh, Dak is going to pass it a ton because they're going to be down. Like, if they're down by that much and he's pressing all the time, like, yes, they have the ingredients to stay in games, but like
He's gonna get so many garbage time yards, and you're gonna be like, yeah, whatever. No, Dak's got it, man. He's gonna throw 700 times.
Dak has a 15 interception season in his career, and he's not that far removed from it.
I don't care.
He might have that, but you know,
I'll take the extra 10 points of hit on an extra 5 tomatoes he throws. I don't like. It's not gonna matter, man. He's throwing the ball 900 times this season. Every game.
900. That's a 10.
This is why you should draft George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb too. This is why CeeDee Lamb should be. I'm honestly kind of considering him for like pick 2. Dude, I think he's gonna have a massive year
after Chase.
Yeah,
maybe.
I've got a fantasy draft tonight, and I've got the 8th pick, and I'm thinking CeeDee's going to be there for me.
You think CeeDee's going to make it? Is it Superflex?
No, it's just with casuals, and I have it from my friend because we were going over strategy that they're not going to pick CeeDee Lamb that early. So if he's correct,
the bad spot is clearly 7 to me is when the major drop off happens.
I don't care when, because I did the last time I drafted, I was picked 32 in the first round. So it's like 8, 7.
Well, it's a little bit.
I don't care.
It's a little bit.
It's odd. I'm gonna get. You're telling me
I've got a draft. I've got 3, so I'm considering my options. But I feel strong about a lot of the top guys this year.
I think the first round you're not going to win or lose your league. But whatever.
I'll
probably take like Henry and
a few nights ago, and I had picked 2. Got Genty.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right. And this thing, it's been going on too long.
Bang. This is the longest Stay Hot episode of 2025. So thank you all so much for tuning in. We're almost there, babies. We're almost there, babies.
Go back, go.
Go Browns, baby. Thank you all for tuning in to another episode of Stay Hot. And as always, from your favorite fellas here, we'll catch you on the flippity flop.